Citizen Alpha 3.15 is going to introduce brand new mechanics that are completely change the game in regards to how death and healing is going to be working. We're going to talk about it in this episode of Inside Star Citizen.
Alpha 3.15 brings with it some of the biggest and most life-altering changes to hit the persistent universe since 3.0.
Oh, that's exactly what I said, Jared.
The core gameplay pillar introduces two new aspects essential to realizing the vision Chris Roberts once referred to as Death of a Spaceman.
Yes, Death of a Spaceman, which is going to basically define how we are going to play Star Citizen in the future, when Star Citizen will be a full-fledged game. And it basically means that we are going to really have to pay attention to the well-being of our character, or decisions are going to have critical impacts and repercussions on our actions and the eventual events that will happen to our characters in the verse. And the very first step for that to happen is the player health system, basically, that is coming up in 3.15.
Now, for this reason, this episode focuses entirely on the addition of injury and healing, which will change the way that players live and die in the persistent universe from Alpha 3.15 and beyond.
Which is exactly why this is such an exciting patch. Maybe the most significant patch since Alpha 3.3, which is when major landing zones were introduced. And even before that, I can't remember the last time that the verse changed that much. Perhaps this was at the end of patch 2.6 when we finally had all the planets. This is a major milestone for Star Citizen, and I think that we can't point this out enough.
They're supposed to be
Look at how that character is limping over there. How that is exactly what I'm talking about. Consequences for your actions, and those consequences can be pretty life-threatening, or it can pretty much definitely hinder your experience. That is not a situation you want to be in. You're going to have to make sure when you play Star Citizen starting from 3.15 to avoid getting yourself in those situations.
To death? Do I want to just bleed out and die? There's supposed to be a fear of death itself. It's not just a case of how I'm going to be healing myself. It's a case of who's going to come and save me if I go down.
Now, that is a very good question. Who is going to save me if I go down? I hope, and that is perhaps another discussion that we can have in the future, and maybe we'll talk about that in the giveaway question, by the way, because this month I got a giveaway. A quick reminder here, a Mercury starter for you guys. If you subscribe to this channel and answer the giveaway question that I'm asking right now, what kind of gameplay would you like to see in the verse when you die? We're going to talk about, for example, just a beacon, but the problem if there's a beacon and you're going to see when you die, you're going to black out. You won't be able to send a beacon. Or should it work with the insurance system that is also happening in the game? In the game, you are going to have insurance mechanics that are going to allow your body to be cloned and revived. Does that insurance include missions for other players to come and rescue you, and they're going to be paid not by you but by the insurance policy? I think that this should be the proper solution, but if you have another idea, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, on Discord, if you have access to my Discord via Patreon or the Jumper membership, I have a Crusader ARS Ion and an Origin 85X. All of that is thanks to Dr. Forbin and Max Power. Let's get back to the video.
3.15 is going to bring the next major step in realizing the vision that Chris Roberts had, and that is you are this lone explorer that is venturing forth into the unknown. The new mechanics and systems that we're introducing in 3.15 around healing and Death of a Spaceman introduces the risk part of that exploration.
There you go, exactly. Now look at what happened here. In the past, when a fall like that would happen, you would eventually bleed out and die, and you would casually respawn at your respawn location. Starting from 3.15, it is not going to be the case. You're going to have to even watch out for your steps, because one small misstep will eventually make you slip and fall to your death, and that will have dire consequences. So that's basically the screen that you are going to see. Now look at that. You are incapacitated, which is very interesting. It tells you how long you have until you die. So here it says 26 minutes and 29 seconds, which is basically the time that you may potentially stay here until someone comes and pick you up, which is going to be very important, and it shows you how this is going to be changing the game. Now, does that mean that this will be like prison gameplay in which you are stuck in prison until your prison time is over? Does it mean that you will be stuck at that particular location staring at the sky with everything being grayed out like this until someone comes within that timer here, within those 26 minutes? I think that a lot of people are going to be upset. I think that a lot of people are going to think that this is very boring. So what I hope is that in the meantime, while you are here waiting for someone to pick you up, are you going to be able to respawn somewhere else where your body will be still incapacitated and the eventual penalties will be applied later? Or will you really have to be stuck here for this amount of time? Let's say, for example, you log out and decide to come back in 20 minutes. You will still have 6 minutes being stuck here. Is your body going to persist even if you log out while you are being incapacitated? It will be very interesting to see. But if this is what I think it is, I think that this is not going to appeal to everybody. As far as I'm concerned, it will appeal to me. I do love survival mechanics. I do love immersion. I like the idea of really being careful with everything that you are doing, but I know that there are lots of people who are a little bit more casual, and this may not necessarily appeal to them. So it's a risk that CIG are taking. But again, as always, when you are engaging in a product, when you are buying a product, including Star Citizen, you have to do your research, you have to do your reading. Death of the Spaceman has been around since 2013, if I am correct. So if you haven't, you should have read that particular post from Chris Roberts from way back, because that is the grand vision for the game.
Pretty much 99% of the times where you would have died in Star Citizen before, now you go into a down state. And a down state is a unconscious, incapacitated state that allows other players to come and rescue you.
That is crazy. Same again here. Oh, this time it's 1 hour and 17 minutes. So these timers may vary depending on the severity of your injuries.
When you do come back, you may come back with a very severe injury.
So that's interesting, sir. What we're seeing here is when a player comes and rescues the player who has been incapacitated, then eventually they're not going to be fully restored. They'll just be out of the incapacitated state, but they'll be able to stand, they'll be able to walk around, but their bodies will not be entirely functional. And for that to happen, they will have to get medical treatment.
So the injuries that you can come back with, you can range all the way from a traumatic head injury, a chest, severe chest injury or chest wound. You've got broken arms, and probably the most severe is broken legs.
Hell, of course, right? If your legs are broken, you will not be able to walk, just like in real life. And so you will have to depend on other players to either drag you, take you to other places, or perhaps you are going to have to sleep there your way around, which, of course, is not going to be very effective and will make you waste a lot of time.
Each injury per body part comes with different symptoms, and as you accrue more severe injuries, your symptoms increase, the severity of the symptoms increase. With the head, it's mostly visual effects, so as you take injuries at your eye...
That is so cool. Yeah, that even if you have a head injury, that is also going to, it's not going to entirely blind you, but again, severely hinder your experience in the verse the way it is supposed to be, right? So they also look at that we have new UI as well. You can see on the far left here, that is your drug level. So if it goes to 0%, I guess that you absolutely need to take drugs, otherwise perhaps your condition will deteriorate. Whereas if your level is at 100%, you perhaps are going to have some of these effects that will maybe decrease and have a better experience until it eventually depletes to 0. And for that to no longer be needed, you are going to again need medical treatment, perhaps at the hospitals.
Sort of get vaguely detached from your retinas and whatnot. and what you can see starts to go impeded.
And we actually call this blood vision, and it's actually not what you'd expect in terms of blood speckling on. It's actually the delamination or the separation of your cornea on your eye.
Oh, no, Richard, you should not have given
Also,
all
false
those
reactions
details.
that comes into play. So the more severe your head injury, the more you react to those. So to start off with, it's the same as usual, standard functionality. But when you have the most severe injury, a strong breeze is going to knock you over. And then also,
I like the idea here. We're going to go back here. I like the idea that the environment is also going to have effects on you. If you are injured and let's say there's a windstorm, it's also going to apply some force reaction to your body, and perhaps it's not going to be reacting or walk the way that it is intended. That is also a fantastic little addition to attention to details here being brought to this patch. Look at that.
and then also we have the chest. So moving on to that, you have reduced stamina, so you can't run as fast, or as for as long, rather.
The main progression of the chest is that you start to suffer in terms of your overall general health. And also at the top end as well, you're in kind of like a weakened state. You trigger a hurt locomotion, so you can't really, you're not as flexible and mobile as you previously were. And where the arm starts to go is that you start to have increased weapon sway. You can't carry as heavy objects.
Now that is also very important. Carrying objects is very important in Star Citizen. And you can carry boxes, but even your own weapon. And if you have arm injuries, how are you going to be holding your own weapons? Or let's say you have something heavy to carry, you need to carry the multi-tool with the tractor beam attachment. That also is not going to be working so well, and that's what we're going to see in the next segment.
The most severe arm injuries, you actually have broken arms.
That prevents you from climbing ladders. It prevents you from carrying heavy objects. So you might.
There you go. He can't carry it.
Box and immediately drop it.
And when we have broken arms, essentially we allow the player to do what we call one-shot actions. So
that is, I like that idea very much, the idea of a one-shot action. And that one-shot action is going to make some weapons in the verse much more relevant than they currently are. I'm thinking about you, Coda pistol, right? The Coda pistol, which is this kind of, shotgun pistol at the same time, which does allow you to one-shot players if you know exactly where to hit properly, right? Or maybe do a significant blow that is going to make an enemy retreat. So very interesting concept here. If you are barely able to use a weapon, you're just going to be able to do one shot. You want that shot to count, and you are going to make sure to have a weapon that is going to be powerful enough to do the impact that you need with that one shot. And it's going to make a couple of weapons that right now are maybe not necessarily that useful shine far more than they currently do in the future.
For example, pull the trigger on the gun.
So you can fire your weapon, but after that you're going to be forced to drop into a low carry.
Boom, and then they can't use it
And then
anymore.
moving on to legs. Obviously, if you've got a broken leg, that doesn't really help you traversal. And when you get to that
limping
stage,
a little
you're pretty
bit,
much
that's
prone
still
lock, so
okay.
you have to crawl
Can't
everywhere.
run, right?
It's going to be a
And
severe state.
this is what's happening. Your legs are broken. You won't be able to run. You'll just slither around just like that.
And it's not going to be something that you're going to want to happen at the bottom of a cave.
I like the idea you are going to look so
So if
pathetic.
you do receive an injury out and about, what can you do? How can you help yourself? Obviously, you can have medical pens. So medical pens are what you're using right now. They heal your health. And they still remain to heal your health. They won't heal it as much as previously, where it was just a one-shot, heal all, reset back to full health, you're pristine. They just bring back your health back to where it can be, depending on what injury you've received.
Now, very interesting. When you have an injury, did you see that the timer to death goes down? So you put the Medipen, the timer goes away, but it's not going to be curing the reason why your health has deteriorated. So you're gonna have the Medipen. It's going to stop you from dying, but you're still gonna have that broken arm. You're still gonna have that broken head. You're still gonna have that blurry vision. So that's still going to force you to get the treatments that you need at the medical facilities.
The other thing that you can do, depending on the injury, is you can take one of 5 drugs that we're introducing into the patch.
Now that is so cool. This is just like in real life. You know, you don't always necessarily need to see a doctor in order to buy some drugs. You can go to a pharmacy and casually buy an aspirin in order to make you feel better a little bit, right? Well, that's also how it's going to be in the verse here. I'm gonna go to the pharmacy at some of the medical facilities and buy here. It's a selection of 5 drugs that will have different effects based on the symptoms that you're experiencing in the verse.
And they treat different symptoms. So some might treat muscle fatigue, some might treat pain relief, some might treat other things like headaches and so on and so forth.
Their function is to mask symptoms, and those symptoms are masked for a specific duration. And the duration is based on the dosage that you apply, and
You
also
see, he could not
the,
aim
the
because
method of applying.
because of the arm injury. You can see here, if we stop, one of the arms here has a red injury. This seems like a mild injury, perhaps. It's either the mild or the broken arm. So he was barely able to use the gun, could not do anything, and so he is going to take one of those pills in order to ease the symptoms. But it's still going to it's going to be very temporary, and it's still going to the arm is still going to be malfunctioning. And as soon as the drug effect will vanish, then the arm will not work properly again. So you don't want to be depending on drugs all the time. Plus, it's also going to be having probably some side effects that we're going to talk about later too. So that's another reason why you want to go to a medical facility.
So we have the med pens, we've got the med gun, the multi-tool healing attachment. And then
Very
also
good.
got
Now we
the
can
med
use the
beds.
gun.
The efficacy of all of those increase. Sort of, we go up in efficacy from pen to sort of gadget to medbed. When you give yourself any sort of drug, so that's healing or masking symptoms, you're increasing your blood drug level. It's also alcohol, so that ups your drug level as well.
There you go. Alcohol. So gone are the days where you can casually go to a bar, get a whiskey cola, and just get away with it. This is not going to be the case anymore. But then the problem is, if there is such a debuff for taking a whiskey cola or a beer at the bar, what is the point of going to the bar at the first place? So I hope that if you just take one maybe, or drink a certain amount of sips, perhaps you're going to get a temporary buff, improved reaction perhaps, right? But if you are not careful, then this is what's going to happen to you. Or maybe you will have better conversation skills, or NPCs are going to be reacting better to you. There need to be some bonuses too for those social interactions in the verse with the environment that's around you.
And as your blood drug level increases, you'll start to reach thresholds where you start to see visual effects, so blurry vision, muffled audio, that kind of thing. And then as you progress through that further, you'll start to enter drunk motion.
It's going to be so
And that's,
hilarious to
as you
see
might imagine,
players
staggering
just
around, looking rather drunk.
just looking drunk and wandering around like that.
If you reach 100% on your BDL bar, that results in you entering an overdose state. Now, this is similar to an incapacitated state in that you can't move, you're in ragdoll, you're seeing the screen fade in and out. But the main difference is that your blood drug level does decay. So as long as you don't suffer damage enough to send you into an incapacitated state and then eventually death, you will come out of the overdose state automatically.
So this is what
very interesting
to
that
the next.
you even have the opportunity to get overdoses, but it's not really going to kill you as much as other experiences like a bullet, obviously, right? But still will have some serious effects, so you're gonna have to watch out for that.
Stage of relief. How do I cure the symptoms or injuries that I've received? You can only cure those injuries based on going to a medical facility or a medical bed, and depending on the severity of that injury will dictate which facility you need to go to.
Now, it's not a one bed fixes all. Not all beds are made equal. We have
Not all beds are made equal. Funny one. So there we have it. That's something that we talked about previously on the channel. 3 different tiers, right? The Cutlass Red, which is just going to be treating your most basic injuries, so it's going to slightly help you a little bit, but it's not the pinnacle of medical gameplay. You're gonna have things like Karak, 890 jump, and the small rest stops, which can treat mid-tier injuries, but if you have a broken leg, it's still not gonna help you. For that, you're gonna have to go to the big hospitals, as they are going to explain here.
the Cutlass, which is a tier 3 facility. and that can remove minor injuries, so that the least worst of the injuries. You've then got the Carrick and 890, they're tier 2. They can relieve minor and moderate injuries.
I like the
We'll
idea
also
of
have,
being inside those scanners here and seeing all the mechanisms that are here to treat you. It is so realistic and so immersive. Again, one of the trademarks of Star Citizen, the immersion, which makes this game really stand out from anything else, right?
Rest stops. They'll have clinics within them, and they'll also be able to, they're tier 2 facilities, so they'll be able to heal moderate and minor injuries.
Yeah, those rest stops clinics are your typical small, neighborhood clinics where you have your local doctor, right? So that's what it is in the verse, right? You go there if you have some mild symptoms, but if you're in real trouble, that's where we're gonna have to go, the major hospitals.
And the creme de creme, which is tier 1, you'll find those in hospitals. And those
This guy got serious injuries. Did you see that? Let's have a look again. Got the head, the arm, and the leg as well. So nothing's working at all. That is going to be very interesting to experience as well. I think this guy's probably crawling on the ground with blood vision. It can't hold a weapon. I really wonder what's going to be the price, though. Something that I've been looking for. Is it going to be like a monthly fee, like some kind of regular fee that you're going to have to pay for your insurance, or are you going to have to pay once you are at the hospital? How do we pay for treatment? Is that universal health care? Like you don't need to pay anything? Is it including in every daily transaction? That's also something I'd like to know, but they didn't talk about it.
hospitals, and those can remove any injuries. So we've talked downstate, we've talked injuries, and we've talked treatment. But what happens when the worst occurs and you die? So previously, or currently, you respawn in HAB. That's out the window now. Now you respawn in medbed. There's numerous locations that have medbeds, so that's hospitals, that's clinics.
There you go. So you have been regenerated following the expiration of your previous body. That's what we talked about in also previous videos too. Cloning. Basically, it's your body that is being cloned, and for some reason, your mind is transferred from your old body to your new body. That, of course, that is quite controversial, right? A lot of people have something against that, because it's not realistic. How is that possible? What is the in-game or in-lore explanation for that to be possible? People say, well, but it's the 30th century. Oh, come on. At some point, you have to remember that even though you want this to be as immersive as possible, you have to remember that it is a game, and sometimes the fun factor has to prevail over realism. So that's why they're doing that. It's as simple as this.
Carrick, 890, those are the ships you can respawn in, at least the Cutlass you can't. Your default respawn location is actually set as your home location.
So when you log in,
now that is really interesting. That's what they're talking about here is, when you go to the persistent universe, you select your starting location, and that's basically it. But now it's not just going to be your starting location, it's going to be your home location, which is going to define where you will respawn, where you'll die. So if there's a hospital, that's where it's going to be. If there's no hospital, it will be the closest location. But eventually, in the future, I think it will be from 3.17, every major location in the standard system, at least, is going to have its own hospital. So it's not really going to be that much of an issue.
now on 3.15, you'll be asked to choose your home residence. This home residence will become your home regeneration point. And this is what the main area that you have will be dictated to that hospital. If a landing zone has a hospital associated with it, then that hospital will become your main regeneration point. If you choose a landing zone that doesn't have a hospital associated with it right now for 3.15, but will do in the future, it will associate the nearest hospital to that landing zone.
That means that if you have set your landing zone, your home location as Lorville, your respawn landing zone will be Horizon. If your home is Area 18, your respawn location will be New Babbage for the time being. But of course, that is going to be changing in 3.16. We'll have the hospital in Area 18. And in 3.17, finally, the Lorville Hospital will be there too.
And you will be given that information before you log in, and you have to confirm that. If you die and your regeneration point is not available, so for example, you set your regeneration point inside your Carrack and you're flying your Carrack and your Carrack blows up, you will then regenerate at your home resident.
Which makes sense, right? If it's not available, just go back to where it's supposed to be. It totally makes sense.
That is the original
nice explosion, by the way,
that you spawned at. When you are incapacitated, before you fully die and regenerate, you will have a significant period of time to wait it out for people to be able to come and rescue you.
Now, I was looking, you can see here, I was looking at whether or not there are missions or the opportunity here to send in a beacon, but it doesn't seem to be the case at all, right? It really seems like there's only that timer here, and that's basically it. So I cannot see any other. Let's have a look here in full screen. See if I can see here. Hold spacebar to die, and you will revive at Everest Harbor, Erston. Very interesting. So you can actually choose to die if you are incapacitated, but also you have the option to wait for someone to pick you up. Now, is there going to be in 3.15? Is there going to be a drawback for choosing to die? Maybe we'll lose our inventory. That's also something that they did talk about in the past, but they did not talk about it in this video. So I would like to have maybe some more details about that as well.
Now, clearly, if you've taken a severe amount of damage, that time is going to be less. And if you've taken a moderate amount of damage, that time is going to be greater. But we're talking, in the half an hour, 2-hour range where, there should be plenty of time for somebody to come and rescue you. Clearly, if somebody's there still damaging you while you're in the down state, they can.
Looks like it's going to be possible to run over people. Oh my goodness! It is going to be.
We are giving the player enough opportunity to try and wait it out. If players don't want to wait it out, and that is their choice, then they can choose to regenerate immediately. And the one thing that we do want to call out is, if you do regenerate, then you will leave behind all of your items and gear that's on you right now.
There we go. That's exactly what they talk about. Now, is your corpse going to be lootable by other people? Will other people be able to come and pick up what you would have left? This is the ultimate goal. I don't think that it's going to be that case already in 3.15, but definitely in the future, it's something that people, scavengers, right, will be able to eventually come and pick whatever had left. So if you had valuables, then they'll be able to take it. If you are able to come to your previous death location, perhaps you'll be able to take whatever you had too.
But we can talk about that next week.
Next week, okay.
So we still have a significant amount of actor status related gameplay that is going to come later. But this is just to let people know that, we're going to put this out, understand, measure, get feedback, and then shape it into something that is what everybody wants, that what we want it to be, that is this true vision of Star Citizen. So this is just the next step.
It's just the next step, but it's the beginning. Fantastic. Again, really excited about what's coming up here in Star Citizen Alpha 3.15. We've been waiting for that for such a long time, guys. We're talking about, since the very beginning, 2017. Now, I want to see this here when we die. The option here to drag body, and the other one is turn over. Oh, so basically you turn over the body to see what's maybe on the other side, and then loot. Oh, so loot here will give us the opportunity to take whatever is from the inventory. It's exactly what I was talking about, guys. It will be possible to loot the people that we kill and take whatever I had. Exciting news indeed. But as I said, we're gonna have more information next week. But let me know in the comment section down below, guys. What is your feeling? How do you feel about the introduction of finally Death of a Spaceman, first iteration in 3.15? That's something that's going to blow our mind, in my opinion, and completely revolutionize the way that we play. That's all for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. This is the Eradicator. I'll see you guys later. This video is brought to you by the people who support this channel on Patreon and via the join button as well. Supporters of the channel get access to lots of cool perks such as access to my private Discord, your question answered in the show, you get to know when I'm going to play, and also you get to have a chance to influence the editorial line of the channel. Any help is appreciated, starts at just $1 a month. Thank you very much for watching. This is the Eradicator, and I'll see you guys later.